As I'd mentioned, another way of looking at direction is to pivot. This great little cartoon illustrates a fellow standing on an island, seeing a fellow on a boat in the distance, and his perspective is, I'm going to be saved because here comes the boat. And then the next cartoon picture shows the guy in the boat, and he's delighted because he can see land ahead, and he thinks he's going to be saved because he's heading to land. This is our perspective, and this is the challenge we have. We often think that because we're on the island, the boat will save us. But the fellow on the boat thinks you on the island will save them. So part of this is being able to realize that when you pivot, what you think will be the solution is seldom the solution, because you're using thinking and actions and emotions that were built for another time and another place. The third element in terms of thinking about direction is this lovely picture of a train where the person at the front of the train is both trying to lay the track and keep the train on time. You as a business owner, when things are going well, can spend your time keeping your trains on time. However, when you have a crisis, you need to lay new track. If you're laying new track and you're trying to keep the trains on time, you're not going to get there. The importance is somebody else needs to keep your train on time while you lay the new railway tracks. This is about delegating. So for you to have the time to think, you need other people running the day-to-day. We use the analogy, somebody's got to be draining the swamp from the alligators while you can go off and think and think and think. One of the best ways of doing this is to get back to nature. Some of your best thoughts come from taking a walk in the country if you can, sitting by a river or a pond, looking at wildlife. Often our answers are in nature. You need to get away from the business as the business owner. You need to think about something completely different and then come back to your business with a fresh thinking, because you need to lay the railway tracks for your business in a completely different direction. The final element of direction is thinking about your business as being somewhat on the hill or a peak of a mountain, and you want to get to a peak or a mountain that's bigger. Traditionally, when you go mountain climbing and you're at the top of a mountain, and you see a bigger mountain in the distance, you have to go down into the valley of the existing mountain to climb up in the valley of the next mountain. But financial people don't think that way. When they do projections, they show things going straight up. When they look at how you're going to progress from one mountain to the other, they don't realize you need to have time to go down the hill. You need to stop doing what got you up the hill and do what gets you down the hill. You have to often dismantle a bunch of things in order to build the new, bigger structure for the bigger mountain you're climbing. You need to build a bridge from the existing mountain to the new mountain if you want to take a shortcut. Otherwise, you're going to have to go right down the valley and swim across to the new mountaintop. In our Finance Masterclass, we spend a lot of time talking about the bridge, how you build the bridge, and what the new mountain looks like. And that new mountain won't make sense to your employees. It won't make sense to others that are going to help you unless you can articulate that very clearly. And that's about talking about how one day, how you're going to sell or get out of this business. A lot of business owners don't want to think about it, but you're going to leave the business. Even if you die in your chair at the office, you will eventually leave your business. Everybody leaves your business. It's just a case of picking the timing and how. And so part of what that bigger mountain is talking about how that mountain could be 10 times the value of your existing mountain when you leave. It's about talking about what kinds of freedom you want before you'd leave your mountain, about what kind of fame you want before you'd leave the mountain, and what kind of fortune you would need, how much money you would need. That would be attractive, that if somebody came along and said, I'm prepared to pay you this big price, it would be a situation where you would be happy to go, because it will allow you the freedom to go do things that you weren't going to do. You will have achieved the fame you want before you leave the business, and you will have identified the fortune, the money you need. Most financial people only talk about the fortune, i.e. how much you need to retire on. They don't pay enough attention to what freedom you need, and freedom is expensive. They won't pay attention to what kind of legacy you want to leave with your business, what kind of good you're trying to do in the world with your business. Things that are very important to you, these need to be part of that thinking, that finance thinking, that building and surfacing the value, not just for the business, but for you yourself. Finally, the early adopters. So if you remember, we have the little guy in his little canoe, and he's got three parts of his canoe. He's got to get the cash and save him. He's got to change direction. And the third is the early adopters. And this terminology came in the technology world, where who are the people that are willing to try your new stuff, whatever your new stuff is? And then once they adapt it, who are the next level of people that, well, if Charlie's tried it, I'm going to try it. And then once it becomes mainstream, who else is going to buy it? And also in this model, they talk about often the early adopters will accept something that the rest of the marketplace will not. So when you're trying new products or you're trying out new services, you need to find those early adopters that will let you try it out, even if it's not perfect. It's a little ropey around the edges, but they're prepared to help you. They want you to stay in business. They want to help you. But also beware that there's often a chasm, or chasm if you want to say, between what these early adopters will want and get you to a certain level and what the mainstream will want. The mainstream want everything packaged beautifully. They want everything well worked out. The early adopters will be more tolerant. So in the masterclass, we spend a lot more time trying to figure out what kind of new products you want to do, what kind of new services you want to do, how to test them quickly. In the old days, we would have a situation where a big company would spend millions of dollars to try out a new product. They'd put a huge marketing campaign together. They'd get everything worked out and then do a massive launch. They'd put a huge plan together and how much money it's going to make. And then what would happen is if the plan didn't work, you would fire the management, fire the marketing people, fire the salespeople, and hire some more. We've learned in this day and age that that doesn't work. What you want to do is think like a venture capitalist. A venture capitalist puts money in 10 different companies, knowing only one of them will be a home run. As early adopters, you want to try 10 different product ideas, 10 different service ideas, and 10 different kinds of customers to see what works. You want short experiments, very low-cost experiments, and get rid of the ones that don't work. So you want a plan that is very simple, that can be easily changed. And when the plan doesn't work, you don't fire the people, you change the plan. If you want to know more about this, then sign up for our Finance Masterclass, and we will take you through our program in some depth. Thank you.